I saw this movie, at least for, I want to say, maybe the first 40 or so minutes, with an adorable elderly couple at that 10 a.m. screening. As I always tell you guys about this, I like to go to the early screenings. One, because then it helps me kind of just think of, like, I get it done early in the day. I get to come home, I get to think about the movie, type up some notes, that kind of thing. And I saw this really cute elderly couple, like the kind of elderly couple that you see in the movies, that you see in those commercials that go, oh, making like, oh, look at those two old people, they're so happy. Like, they've been together for like 40, 45 years, 50 years. They love each other. It's like, oh, it's just so sweet. It was during a down moment in the movie where thank God, where there wasn't like a lot of people talking to each other. And I heard the husband say, do you want to go see something else? And the wife says, yeah, I think I do. And they left. And I watched them go. And I thought that was the funniest part of the movie. And I was like, good for them. And I was like, you know what? Listen, chat, they don't got a lot of time left. They're trying to spend their golden years the best way they can, and they don't want to spend it watching Eli Roth's Borderlands. And I'm like, good for you. And I hope they saw a different movie, and I hope they enjoyed themselves. Really, truly, I do. I thought that was adorable. That was the best thing that came out of this movie. I was like, oh, thank God. There was something I could grab onto and be like, that's nice. That was nice. But I stuck there. I was alone. So Borderlands is a hot, steaming trash pile. I know it's quite the statement to make at the very top of the review. We were doing it beforehand. But there really isn't any need to do a preamble for this movie, hinting at the possible quality of the movie. Is it actually good? Everything about the film, from its direction, writing, dialogue, and action set pieces, is atrocious across the board. I'm certainly not surprised. And those that were in the know when this movie was almost announced, a decade ago, I want to say? I think this movie was almost announced like a decade ago, or like 9 years. We all figured it would be the abomination it obviously is. This is an adaptation of sorts of the Borderlands video game series developed by Gearbox Software. A series I do have a great degree of familiarity with. You take on the role of a vault hunter, and you go to this alien world of Pandora, a planet inhabited by dangerous creatures and psychotic tribes and organizations and corporations vying for power. And all of these people, many of these people, are searching for the vaults that typically hold vast amounts of wealth and power. There's a lot of games in the series. I played the original game back in the day, and I liked it for what it was. I really love Borderlands 2. Borderlands 2, I thought, was a significant improvement over the first game. I mean, the games have never really been about like story and like characters. It's not the focus. Not saying that's not a part of it. It is, but it's always been more about the gameplay. However, Borderlands 2 definitely addressed some of the story, the lackluster story of one, the lackluster villain, introducing a character like Handsome Jack, who is like one of the greatest video game villains, I would say, of the 2010s. A huge standout, kind of literally became the face of the franchise. And how can you not? He's got such a handsome face. I really enjoyed Tales from the Borderlands, which is like a spinoff that was made by Telltale. Of course, who else did stuff like, The Walking Dead and the Batman game and a number of other things too. Was I think super underappreciated because it was really, really good. I also played the pre-sequel as well. I liked that. I really didn't care for Borderlands 3. I remember streaming it, and I eventually just fell off of it. I was like, all right, I'm kind of done. And I didn't even know that like Tales of the Borderlands 2 was released last year. No one knew. That thing just came and went. Had none of the original people working on it that worked on Tales of the Borderlands. And as others have brought up on past streams and discussions that we've had, the Borderlands franchise, has kind of waned in recent years and is seemingly being forgotten by an entire generation of people, with a new generation of gamers just kind of completely unaware of it. It's in a very weird place right now. Not a very good place, in all honesty. And honestly, it should have come out a decade ago, back in 2014, if they wanted to capitalize on the success of Borderlands 2, which I believe came out 2 years prior, right, to 2014. But here we are now, and the writing was on the wall with this project from the very beginning. As soon as it was announced that Avi Arad was the main producer for this movie, I knew it had a tremendous uphill battle to be of quality, to be good, to be borderline competent. As I've said in past discussions on Arad, and most recently in my Out of the Theater reaction, Avi Arad is a bloated, pus-filled embarrassment of a movie producer, along with being just the albatross, the grotesque albatross that has hung around Spider-Man's neck for 30 years now. He has an infamous reputation for being difficult to work with. He's obnoxious, dismissive of the work of others on films, and has a complete lack of desire to learn about the various stories and characters he adapts into movies. He puts as much work into producing movies that he does into his next bowel movement. He's simply one of the worst people working in the film industry today. And I will take every opportunity to call him out because he deserves it. Along with that, as soon as it was announced that Eli Roth was going to direct the film and later on rewrite the script of the movie, I and others knew it was over. It was done. All right, we can move on. I do not like Roth as a filmmaker or as an actor. I really detest his sensibilities, certainly when it comes to genre filmmaking. Thanksgiving probably is the best movie of his that I've seen, but even then, that's derivative of so many other great slashers. It's his Scream, right? And just along with the utterly bizarre casting of people like Kevin Hart as Roland and others like Jamie Lee Curtis as Dr. Tanis, along with, you can name any of the actors who are cast in their roles. It's all very weird and awkward. It just all pointed to this project being a nightmare. And oh God, and lo and behold, that's exactly what this is. So much of this isn't even Borderlands, which I know sounds very weird to say, but it's true. It has more in common with films like Guardians of the Galaxy, though it completely lacks the heart and wit and spectacle that James Gunn brought to those films. This movie harkens back to the days of the 2000s video game adaptations, with films directed by Uwe Boll, films like Blood Rain or House of the Dead. It's like this movie, which barely has anything to do with many of the beloved aspects of Borderlands, is wearing the skins of these characters and can't even be bothered to come across as those characters because that would require effort, actual effort. The story and the world feel that way too. It's like, yes, you have your Easter eggs, some of them recognizable locations, but the movie isn't even adapting a specific storyline from the games. And none of the characters, aside from, a tertiary character or two, feels like the characters from the games. Everyone is off. Everyone feels off for the most part. There's just blatant, obvious miscasting from top all the way to the bottom. The only lead or supporting character that is kind of half trying is Cate Blanchett as Lilith, who is one of the major characters in the franchise. She's pretty much in this movie just going through the motions as the unenthused and reluctant hero. You've seen this before. which, to be fair, is not like Lilith at all in the games. And the other thing is, and this applies to several other characters too, and I don't mean to sound ageist, but she's too old for the part. Lilith is in her 20s, like what, her early, mid-20s, I want to say, in the games. I mean, maybe by the time we get to Borderlands 3, she's like, I don't know, early 30s, I suppose, mid-30s maybe. And in case you don't know, despite Lilith being in her 20s, Cate Blanchett is not. She's not in her 20s. I actually think she might be in her 50s now, in her mid-50s. And listen, she looks great, but she is 30 plus years older than the character is supposed to be. and that's awkward. And they constantly bring up the fact that she's too old. I'm literally I'm too old for this shit. And it's very distracting and it's not funny. Outside of her, for the most part, everyone feels awkward, uncomfortable, and totally miscast. I mean, this one was like the biggest joke when it was first announced that Kevin Hart was Roland. All right. And I feel like, listen, I think Kevin Hart for a time I think he's a talented stand-up comedian. Maybe not everything about his act works for me, but he clearly has some talent. There's a reason why he's been able to amass his following. I've not been a big fan of him as an actor, because most of the time he's playing himself, and that's exactly what you get in this movie. You know, he does his comedic quips. You know, he's a little nervous, a little scared. And that's just not Roland. Like Roland, first of all, I mean, there's the noticeable height difference. Like Roland's pretty goddamn tall. He's broad-shouldered. Physically incredibly fit. But the other thing about him is he's very stoic. You know, he's a stoic character. He's kind of no nonsense. He's not very comedic in nature. Maybe he'll say a funny line or something, but it's not like it's every other minute. It's not like it's constantly layered into his dialogue. That's not who Roland is as a character. He's very much like a leader. There's so many other talented actors you could have cast as Roland. Black actors, obviously. I mean, this is a possibility. He's more of like an Idris Elba type. That's who Roland is. Like how Idris Elba was acting, for example, in the Suicide Squad, where he was funny in that, but he wasn't like the jokey character. It was just what was written for him occasionally by James Gunn was amusing. It's just like, oh, there's Roland. That's the guy. That's exactly who you should go with. But that's not what they do. They just Kevin Hart just does Kevin Hart. Ariana Greenblatt is Tiny Tina, and they make no attempt to have her act like Tiny Tina. Like Tiny Tina is I think for the most part a pretty popular character. I know for some that they kind of are not the biggest fans. She can get on, I think, some people's nerves based on the way she talks. She's a very specific manner of speaking and cadence. It is very odd. It is very cartoony, and they just make no attempt to replicate that. I mean, again, she's just not that character at all. She's called Tiny Tina, but there's nothing about her that really screams Tiny Tina. Like, I guess they use some of her like types of weapons and her little creations and little knickknacks and explosives. She is kind of like using furry stuffed animals as bombs and weapons and things. And like that's there. But outside of that, there's nothing about her that is like Tiny Tina. You also have another, I forget the actor who plays Krieg, Florian Montano. Apologies if I'm mispronouncing his name. Krieg is a character introduced in Borderlands 2. He's this kind of like psychopath, actually a very sad character, where he's, because we have like these psychos in Borderlands who just completely populate the planet of Pandora. Like they're everywhere, and they're like, I'm gonna rip your face off and wear it and then eat it and then shit. Like that's kind of their whole vibe. And so he's kind of like that too, except there's also like another part of him where he has this like internal voice, which is like the old him who was normal. And he's constantly like, like that voice is constantly telling him, stop acting like a fucking maniac all the goddamn time. Right. And there's kind of like a bit of sadness with his character. He also has in the games a certain connection to Tiny Tina, a very big connection. And they don't do anything with that. they could give a shit less. I'm just like, so he's there for window dressing. He's that guy from the game. All right, moving on. And moving on, we get to Jamie Lee Curtis as Dr. Patricia Tannis. And this is another and again, I don't mean to sound ageist, but Patricia Tannis, like in the games, I want to say is like in her late 20s, early 30s. And I don't know if you guys don't know this, but Jamie Lee Curtis is not in her late 20s and early 30s. She was maybe actually she was probably younger in 78 when she did the Halloween and some other movies before then. But again, it's just so weird, and she doesn't act like the character in any capacity. They give her a different storyline and a different background, and she just feels awkward because she's not really she's not a vault hunter, you know. She's not like a combatant. She's not a soldier, and they just kind of have her in these situations, doing nothing or attempting to do something goofy with her and her awkwardness. And it's like, yeah, it doesn't work. The one character, the one actor that I actually do want to, other than Cate Blanchett, but I actually think this guy does a better job. He's not in the movie a lot, but Benjamin Byron Davis, who you may not know the name, but I want to say he's the voice of Dutch. He's the voice of Dutch Vanderlyn in Red Dead Redemption 2. Arthur, we just need a little money. We just need a plan. He's that guy. He's the voice. He plays Marcus. I was like, oh wow, you're actually that's Marcus. They nailed it. I was like, okay, cool. Like that one works, but again, he's not in the movie that much. But the absolute worst person, the absolute worst character in the movie is Jack Black as the voice of Claptrap. Claptrap's kind of, outside of maybe Handsome Jack, is the mascot for the franchise. He's this funny little robot that often guides the player, gives quest lines, does goofy stuff. And I don't know why they just didn't cast the original voice actors, because there have been a couple who have played Claptrap for the movie. It's just like, well, that's just get that guy. It just makes sense. And they get Jack Black for this, and everything that they do with him, for me, is absolutely horrendous. He's so terrible. Like the dialogue, the gags, every attempt at humor, it just makes you so sad inside. It's incredibly annoying. He is and the thing is, like, Claptrap's a bit of a divisive character, because there's definitely people that hate him, and there's definitely people that like him. I've always liked him. Sometimes he can be a little little annoying, but it's like, it's Claptrap, whatever. I understand the people now that hate him. Like, I get it. This is what you guys have kind of experienced. I'm like, I understand now. But this is just, I think it's 10 times worse, because everything that's given to him, every line that he says, every gag is just like, God, none of this is working. It goes on and on and on. And he's just there to be comic relief. He is the Jar Jar Binks of this movie. It's been a hot minute since we got a Jar Jar Binks-esque character who you just despise, and you ask yourself, like, what's the purpose? Why are they even here? Right? Because they're from the game. That's why. The action scenes are also just very generic as they come. Paint-by-numbers gunfights that are surprisingly poorly choreographed, uninspired chase scenes throughout the movie, action that is actually afraid to get violent, which is the antithesis of Borderlands. Borderlands is a very violent video game series. It's filled with blood and gore, people getting ripped apart and shot up. And this is the other thing about it. This thing I noticed. It really just stuck out to me in this movie. None of the crazy guns and their abilities are in this film, which many would argue is the best gameplay aspect of Borderlands. So for those that don't know, in Borderlands, like, you get all sorts of crazy different weapons made from all these different companies. And a lot of these weapons can, like, have different types of ammo. You can have, like, electric ammo. You can have, like, acid ammo, right? There's weird things where you can, after the gun, and again, it's all nonsensical. It's very over the top, right? But, like, after the gun's out of bullets, you can literally just throw it at someone and it explodes on their face. And if it has, like, a particular, like, ammo type, so in the case, like, I loved using acid rounds. Like, acid rounds was my thing in Borderlands, right? And if you throw a gun that shoots acid rounds, it explodes and it covers them in acid. None of that's here in this movie at all. It's just like, but that's like, well, what many people would argue is the main appeal of Borderlands is the guns. Like literally in the trailers, they say bazillions and bazillions of guns, and they don't get bazillions and bazillions of guns in this. So it's like, what? You're missing the point. You're missing, like, one of the true foundational things that makes Borderlands what it is. I can't believe that. And the CGI and the green screen is horrendous in this movie. You can see the halos above their head. You know, there's no excuse for it to look so bad as it does because it has a $120 million budget. I don't know, maybe Avi Arad stole it and is just trying to keep his bloated, pus-filled body moving through experimental medical technology. I don't know, but I think that's the best explanation as to why we can't see amazing special effects. I don't. No one else has provided a better reason. I think that's the absolute reason. Lastly, and I think this might have been an R-rated movie at some point, but it was changed to PG-13 during the production or possibly post-production. It just feels like at times they're hiding the violence, but the editing is so bad in this movie that it just kind of comes across as a hack job. It's like, listen, we got to take all this out. This sequence that you set up here, Eli, it's not going to work, okay? We got to get the kiddos in here. We got to get the 12-year-olds, the 13. Come on now, all right? We want to get more butts in seats, so take out all this. Maybe. I don't know. It just there's something about, like, how this film is edited and how they present certain scenes. It's like, oh, this is going to be a blood. And, like, no. Like, characters surrounded by a bunch of other bad guys, and it's like, what happened? And then we just cut from that, and it's like, oh, and they escaped. It's like, why? Wait, what's going on? So I don't know if there is like an R-rated version of this movie somewhere. I don't think it wouldn't fix everything, but it was very noticeable just how bad the editing was and how bad the action was. It's so uninspired. But yeah, Borderlands is absolute trash through and through. Oh, there's actually two last things. There's two last things I wanted to mention. I was not alone in my theater, at least for a little while. I saw this movie, at least for, I want to say, maybe the first 40 or so minutes, with an adorable elderly couple at that 10 a.m. screening. As I always tell you guys about this, I like to go to the early screenings. One, because then it helps me kind of just think about, like, I get it done early in the day. I get to come home, I get to think about the movie, type up some notes, that kind of thing. And most of the times I see in the morning, and a lot of the times in the morning, you get, the senior citizens. You get seniors because, like, they're retired or whatever, and, they get up early in the morning, to begin with, and they're not staying out late. And so, yeah, a lot of them will just go to the movies, and they'll see a lot of movies. And I see it all the time. And I saw this really cute elderly couple, like the kind of elderly couple that you see in the movies, that you see in those commercials that go, oh, making like, oh, look at those two old people. They're so happy. Like, they've been together for like 40, 45 years, 50 years. They love each other. It's like, oh, it's just so sweet. And it was during a down moment in the movie where thank God, where there wasn't like a lot of people talking to each other. And I heard the husband say, do you want to go see something else? And the wife says, yeah, I think I do. And they left. And I watched them go. And I thought that was the funniest part of the movie. And I was like, good for them. And I was like, you know what? Listen, chat, they don't got a lot of time left. They're trying to spend their golden years the best way they can, and they don't want to spend it watching Eli Roth's Borderlands. And I'm like, good for you. And I hope they saw a different movie, and I hope they enjoyed themselves. Really, truly, I do. I thought that was adorable. That was the best thing that came out of this movie. I was like, oh, thank God. There was something I could grab onto and be like, that's nice. That was nice. But I stuck there. I was alone watching that movie. Looking like fucking Homelander, just staring up at it, just unfeeling, unmoving, just like, I'm just letting this all wash over me until it's done. Until I can come home, I can do my odd theater reaction, come home, type up my notes, and just wait to talk about this movie with you guys. Finally, it did, however, briefly make me forget about M. Night Shyamalan's terrible, nepotism-filled movie Trap. Just for an hour and 45 minutes, but outside of that respite that I received, and I will thank Borderlands for that, this movie, Borderlands, can just fuck off, honestly. along with the hacks of Avi Arad and Eli Roth, nothing would please me more than the two of them to just retire and fade into obscurity. But as you guys know, I rarely get what I want. But I have hope. I have hope. But what about you guys? Did you guys like the movie? Did you happen to like the film? Were you? Maybe there are. I bet of course there are. Of course there's going to be people who like the movie. But did you like the movie? Why did you like the movie? Were you more mixed on the movie? Or did you fucking hate it like I did? Do you think it's one of the worst movies of the year? I think it's one of the worst movies of the year. I think it's got some stiff competition. It's got some stiff competition this year. Again, like I said, it's inside my little noggin right now. Big noggin. Inside my big old noggin right now. It's having a hell of a battle with Madam Web and Rebel Moon and Frosted, but man, oh man, is it bad, chat. But what about you guys? I'm actually very, very curious to hear your thoughts on this film if you've seen it.
5 minutes later.
How do you guys feel? Let me see you guys saying. Oh my God, Lil. Oh, country, hot hands. We got Lil. That poor double cup. They were super cute. They were super sweet. I love them. I love them so much. They wanted to see a good picture show, and it was like the picture show. Yeah, they probably love going to the theater. Well, they're the kind of couple that clearly like goes to movies all the time. But I think maybe that they've gone so much, they're like, we're better than this. We can find something else. I hope they got their money back. I hope they just went up to the cashier or whatever and said, like, that movie's just terrible. Can we just exchange, for something else? I hope so. They deserve it. Well, the other couple did the right thing. They did. They were so cute. They were so adorable. That was my favorite thing about it. That's the one memory I'm going to have with this movie. I'll forget about this movie, but I remember that couple. When the other couple were on their first date, their spouse just died. Oh, see, now you're making it sad. No, I like my version. I like my version I have in my head that they were that they had been married for 40, 50 years. It was super cute. At least you can scream, that's true. That's amazing. It's pretty adorable. Die Hard, I know Kevin Hart really wanted this movie to succeed because I know he's trying to hard become a leading man. It's not working. This did not help. This did not help him. And now just being typecast comic relief. Well, I mean, with this role, it's just kind of him going through the motions. Like you kind of, he's not always going, bah! He's not doing that. Chris Tucker scream or Kevin Hart scream, if you will. But Deadpool insert De Niro taxi driver Chris Sid. Yeah, exactly. I wish there's two types of De Niro's in the theater. You got crazy Travis Bickle De Niro, and then you got fucking Cape Fear De Niro. Smoking that cigar and laughing his ass off. I wish I could have been that De Niro. I was not. Oh, I wish though. Too tall. If it ain't good, then do make a movie out. Oh, don't make a movie out of it. Yeah. All right. I think Eli Roth should have done more something like Gears of War movie. See, you say, oh man. Oh boy. Oh man. And the new Borderlands, and the reason why I said that is because the man loves gore. No, I have no doubt about that. No, Eli Roth loves gore. There's no question about that. I'll never deny him that. It's just, that's not what's wrong with so many of his movies, though. It's like my issue with him as a filmmaker, other than just, him attaching himself to infinitely more talented filmmakers, and that's the reason why he has the career that he has. It's just that that's the only thing he does care about is the shock, the splatter, right? He doesn't really seem to care. Now, to be fair, I have not seen his other movie, The House of the Clock on Its Walls. As everyone says, it's probably his best film. But, all of his other movies, after fucking recently rewatching Cabin Fever, I'm just like, yep. He just doesn't really seem to care about story or dialogue or just the characters. And they're meat. They're meat. That's what they are. They're meat. And so when he's then put into a movie where he can't, indulge in the thing which he loves, which you're right, is gore, then the only thing that you're left with is all the things that he's not good with. He's not good at. And that's why probably one of the main reasons as to why this movie is so bad. There's countless reasons as to why. I feel like this project was doomed from the very start as soon as... Again, I go back to this. It should have come out 10 years ago. It should have come out in 2014. If you were going to do that, that was the time. 2 years after Borderlands 2, when they were probably still doing DLC for it, there was Tales of the Borderlands, I think, was out or almost... that's when you do it. That's when you do it. But all the people involved just couldn't get their shit together. And then you had Avi Arad in there who could give a fuck less. He really does not care. Oh, by the way, the next thing he's producing, next movie they're doing, Naruto. So all you Naruto fans out there, well, there you go. There's your producer from the production team, the producing team of Borderlands. They're going to go ahead and they're going to make Naruto next, which is like, oh my God. I don't even have any like sort of attachment to Naruto because I'm unfamiliar with it outside of just, pop culture zeitgeist stuff. But I feel so sorry for Naruto fans what they're going to get, especially because we actually have been getting some good live action anime adaptations, stuff like with One Piece. So, oh boy, it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough. You have better odds of winning the lottery than getting to pay to see this again. Yeah, it's fair. That's fair. Alan Berger, my brother, wants to see the movie. Maybe we'll see it tomorrow while me and my mother go see Twisters. I'll let you know what he thought of it. Let me know. Favorite part of the review was the story of the old. That's my favorite part of this review, too. It was very adorable. It's my favorite part. That's why I wanted to include it. I was like, no, I got to include this. Might have to watch just to satisfy my curiosity. If you're gonna watch it, wait for like when it's on stream or pirate it. Just do that. Don't give this movie money. Don't do what I did. Don't chat. Do as I say. Don't do as I do. Okay. Oh man. Yeah, there you go. Am I watching them on the pirate sites? That's a big might. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, there's just better things out there right now. Like in terms of TV shows, there's other better films out there right now. In terms of like spectacle blockbuster entertainment, like Deadpool Wolverine's still out there. Twisters is still out there. Inside Out 2 is still in theaters. Like I really want to see Cuckoo, so I'm excited for Cuckoo. And then next week you have Alien Romulus, which everyone's like a lot of people are excited for. Even I'm excited for it now. So there's better things to watch. And this movie's bombing. This is going to be one of the biggest box office disasters of the year. I think there was no except for that other couple. And then I was alone. That was it. Yep. What Chris didn't know was there was no other couple smash cut to Chris sitting in the theater by himself. That would be hilarious. I imagined it. Just trying to escape my reality. I imagined this nice little wholesome thing that made me smile. That would be very dark. That would be very dark. That would make me sad. The boss is weird. It didn't end up getting really violent because Eli Roth. Yeah. Well, it's PG-13. PG-13. I mean, even why get Eli Roth as director if you don't want to get violent? That's why part of me does think that this might have been rated R at some point. There's something the way about that it was edited and they cut away from certain things. I'm just like, is there, because I want to, because he didn't come back for the reshoots. He didn't come back for all that because I think like the person who replaced him was Tim Miller. I want to say because then Eli Roth is kind of like he went on to do Thanksgiving after this, as far as I know. After principal photography, was he even involved in post-production? I don't even think he was fucking involved in post-production. Let me see here. I'm gonna read this. Filming began. I got Wikipedia open. I like to refer to Wikipedia. Filming began April 1st, 2021, Budapest, Hungary, during the COVID-19 pandemic, and wrapped in June 22nd. June 4th, 2021, first look images of the cast were released with black and white images obscuring all but the cast's silhouettes. In January 2023 was announced the film would be going through 2 weeks of reshoots directed by Tim Miller due to the Roth's commitments to Thanksgiving. I also think they just didn't want him to come back. Zach Olekwetsk wrote new pages for Miller, so they didn't even work off of Roth's script. Original script. In June 2023, Mazin removed his name from the project. Yeah, because Craig Mazin, he wrote the original script for the movie, but that's not what they used, as far as I know. When Roth joined, because Mazin had written the script for the movie, but then when Roth joined, he completely redid the entire script, as far as I know. He did his own draft. In June 2023, Mazin removed his name from the project, replaced by Joe Crombie. Mazin denied reports that Crombie was a pseudonym. No, it's a pseudonym. Additional literary material was credited to Berg. I mean, look at all there's like 15. There's 15 writers on this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There you go. So yeah. Now, it's gonna be interesting to know about. I mean, it's kind of all spelled out, like what went wrong in the movie. From the very beginning. And this is not going to help the franchise. Like Borderlands in general is just what's being done with it. I couldn't even tell you. I have no idea, and this isn't going to help at all. People are going to be like, "Oh, is that the video game? Is that based off that terrible movie?" Like there feels like there hasn't been like a Borderlands entry for like a new generation. There's people that don't even know about it. So yeah, it's a huge mess. Huge mess. Oh man. The SNL. You can take a look at the SNL trailer, sure. Roth is like Rob Zombie to me. Oh, definitely, 100%, basically. Excellent comparison. Yeah, they are two peas in a pod. I listen to both talk about horror movies, but clearly like the genre. But I don't want to watch their films. That's the thing about them. Is like they like the genre, and they're knowledgeable about it, but they are not able to replicate it. They're not able to take the things that they appreciate about it and actually write it and shoot it. It's very weird. What they are to me is they're fanboys. They're horror fanboys. That play around as filmmakers, as directors. Like, I think that's what they truly are. Although, yeah, again, I haven't seen House of a Clock on Its Walls, and Thanksgiving is arguably Roth's best film. But again, that's not saying much. I kind of used to like Eli Roth, maybe just the idea of him. He's ingratiated himself to a lot of people. He's popped up in a lot of documentaries, and he has that passion for talking about it, of those types of films, genre films and things. And, he's very good friends with Quentin Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez. And so I think just seeing him, around that kind of, group of people, it's like, oh, yeah, Eli Roth. Yeah, I like that guy. Yeah, so I understand. I missed your review, Dill Murray. Says Dill Murray. Did you or anyone in the chat bring up Craig Mazin? Yep. I was just talking about that. Yep. And and Eli Roth came in and messed it up. Exactly. There you go. Answered your question. Oh, no. R.I.P. Naruto. Why? Oh, God, no. Yeah. Naruto starring Kevin Hart. Oh, Christ. Oh, God. Bugs Dad, I'm going to see what's up. Chris just got in. Welcome. Well, I didn't pay to see this. Good. Don't give it money. But I'm watching a bootleg version of it. Go for it. Yep. 20 minutes in, it really feels like a poor man's Guardians of Suicide Squad 2016. Yeah, exactly. Yep, through and through. It's a Guardians of the Galaxy knockoff with none of the heart, none of the wit, none of the spectacle of those movies, or it does feel like Suicide Squad 2016. That's another great comparison. I should have done that too. I should have made that comparison in the review. But you're right. Yeah. Clown and welcome. Yeah, it's just a bad movie. Clown Freaks, I heard about the Naruto project. I'm scared. Yep, should be. You should be scared. Borderlands should have made a streaming. And to your point, Deadpool, and to your point, Borderlands should have made a streaming animated series like Arcane. I agree with you. Could you make a Borderlands movie? Sure, I think you can. In the hands of competent people. But you're right. The thing is, Borderlands has that certain aesthetic. It has that cell-shaded aesthetic, right? And then you have the lines of people's faces, the creases and stuff, and it's it has a specific look. And I feel like that look can be easily realized and adapted into an animated series a la an Arcane. And I'm thinking that's what they should have done with Borderlands. It shouldn't have been a movie. I think you should have made this a hard R animated series on Netflix. Or even if you're not going to do maybe that Arcane, anime-esque at the very least, something like that, but still tries to replicate the style of Borderlands. I didn't really bring this up in the review, and then I'm just thinking about it, but you have the characters and some of their looks, but they're just so flat. They're it's like they're wearing shitty cosplay. There's cosplayers who have done the Borderlands characters and put all those little additional accents on their faces and features and things that's they look cel-shaded, and they don't do that here. And all the people in this movie, everyone else just looks really flat. And it just kind of I guess it's just like a shittier version of what we've seen before. And that was easily done better by people who didn't have $120 million. So, yeah, that's good. But you're right. It should have been an animated series. The Roth cut. I was already doing Thanksgiving by the time the reshoots came around. Isaac, it's so crazy that Pandora's a planet full of so many biomes and creatures. Yeah, but they were laser focused and emulating Borderlands first. Yeah, Borderlands 1 to Pandora. You're right. Yeah, could have at least have someone put a scrag or kick a tiny psycho. You make a very good point. That's the thing. This movie and I go back to it. There is such a lack of desire to embrace the best aspects of the world. And you're right. The first Borderlands, Borderlands 1 is it worked for a lot of people, and clearly because then it was successful commercially and critically to an extent, but then it all led to Borderlands 2, which I think, that's the best Borderlands game. you know, and then next to it, I will also say Tales of the Borderlands in terms of like storytelling, certainly. But like that was when they went like really crazy with it. That's when they went, all right, let's introduce all these different types of environments, as you were saying. We have all these different biomes, as you said. So many like they increased the amount of flora and fauna in the world. It's like, oh wow, you know, there's a reason why Borderlands 2 is so well liked and so loved by so many people, not just Borderlands fan, by a lot of gamers in general. And yeah, this movie, it just looks so flat, and like the original Borderlands kind of had like a flat look to it. You know, it was there. You could almost say they were aping. Actually, no, they were aping Fallout. They were aping Fallout, or you know, like Mad Max, which is clearly, you know, their inspiration. There's no question. But it had a very gray brown color palette, but they changed it up with the sequel. This one, there's color in it. But you're right. The environment is just like Borderlands 1's Pandora. It's like, you know, that's not, I think, the ideal Pandora. Yeah. Del Rio McCoy Harden. It's good to see you doing, McCoy. How you doing? Welcome. Hope you're doing well. I want to destroy Claptrap and the rest of the movie as a whole. For sure, one of the worst movies. Oh, yeah, 100% one of the worst movies this year. It's going to make my list. That's not going to be a surprise to anybody. It'll make a lot of people's list. I think it's going to be number one for a lot of people's list. And again, I can't argue with that. I really can't. You know, it might be for me by the end of the year. Yeah, it's right now in my head. It's like it's between Borderlands, Rebel Moon Part 2, Madam Web, Unfrosted, and I guess Argyle still, though I think Argyle is better than the four that I just mentioned, but it's still bad. Those are my top 5 worst at the moment. Let's see. House Clockwell is aiming for a more Amblin type movie, so he has to pull back on a lot of his usual stuff. It's better for it. That's good. That's good here. I still got to watch the movie one day. I didn't type the full title because it's way too long. That's fair. Katria, yeah, I think he was in a documentary to be that list like the top one. Yep, I seen that documentary. Yeah. Rob did a documentary about sharks and how people are killing them and taking away their fins to make soup and how bad it is for the environment. That seems kind of... He should do that. He should make those instead. We have Guardians at Home. This is Guardians at Home. Yeah. Temu Guardians of the Galaxy sounds about... Exactly. Yeah, you're right, Isaac. Exactly what it is. Drew McCall, I had no interest in seeing this. You and everybody else, because I mean, other than that wonderful, sweet elderly couple who may have been a figment of my imagination, I was the only other people. I was the only person in the theater. Now, to be fair, I was at the first screening on a Friday morning, but this movie's bombing. This movie's gonna bomb. I think that like the box office projections were like what $10 to $15 million. So it's probably exactly what it's going to make, and then it'll be out of theaters by the time August ends. Let's see here. On one end, you have Guardians, Honor Among Thieves, and The Suicide Squad. On the other, you have Borderlands. Yep. Everything feels fake in the movie. Agreed. Oh, yeah. I see old people. But they were so wholesome. They were so cute. But yeah, Borderlands. I hope you enjoyed the review. It was, listen, as bad as this movie is, it's fun to talk about, I gotta admit. Bad movie reviews are always fun because there's so much you can dissect, so much you can mock, you know. It's a good time, but yeah, don't waste your time with this one, chat.